Hello, San Angelo. I'm James Bellini. For news this Memorial Day weekend, and Lucas Banda went out to Lake Nasworthy to talk with the Game Warden about boating safety, and Long Haven Memorial Gardens is hosting a Memorial Day ceremony. Before that, Bob Bluthardt with Fort Concho talks with Joe Hyde in studio. We'll get into that interview right after these messages from Jim Bass and Carpet Tech.
Save big on new and used cars and trucks at BassBunch.com.
When anyone needs a new car or truck, where do they go?
That's easy, BassBunch.com.
What? It's BassBunch.com.
Everybody knows BassBunch.com.
BassBunch.com. Did I hear right?
There is only one place, BassBunch.com.
If you want to save a bunch of money, the only place to shop is BassBunch.com.
My name is Cade Simmons. I'm the site manager here in San Angelo. What matters to our customers, I believe, is what we say is CT quality, CT experience, just making sure their needs are met, taking care of their home like it was ours. You just have to keep thinking of, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So just making sure you're taking care of what needs to be taken care of, and just knowing that they can rely on us, I think, matters to them a lot.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Joe Hyde. I'm with the infamous Bob Bluthardt,
Thank you for that.
head preservation guy and executive director of Fort Concho National Landmark.
Very good.
How's that?
About 75% right.
75%? That's okay. And people don't understand this, but Fort Concho was a fort for a very short period of time, and it's been a tourist attraction since.
For a very long period of time. So we did pretty good, didn't we?
But the interesting thing about having Mr. Bluthardt on the show is this guy is San Angelo history in one brain, and it's.
Oh, you're too kind. There are a lot of folks out there who know their history. I've just been lucky to make a living at it.
Well, when you're making a living at it, you tend to remember a lot of stuff that it's gone on.
Reading is a wonderful thing.
But Fort Concho makes its revenue off special events, and also since it is a fort, you have Memorial Day coming up,
of which we make no revenue, and that's okay.
No revenue
off
Memorial Day.
It's a free event. Let's talk about Memorial Day. It used to be called Decoration Day, and it was originally created after the Civil War to honor the Union War dead. And then over time, it morphed into a general holiday to honor all of the dead of all the wars in protecting our nation. And it's been Memorial Day for about 50 years, I think, since the 1970s when they turned it into one of those federal Monday holidays. We will have a program, a guest speaker, a little music, firing of some artillery salutes on Monday upcoming, 9 a.m. in front of the headquarters building. However, last time I checked the weather, it's going to be a gloriously wet, rainy day.
Can they shoot the cannons when it's raining?
They can, but the ceremony will be moved indoors to the commissary building next door. So right now it's about a 50-50 chance that we will move it indoors. We'll have signs up, rain or shine. If there's no rain, outside. If it rains and it gets muddy, inside. Of course, no cannons inside.
And of course, a lot of people get Memorial Day mixed up with Veterans Day.
And with Armed Forces Day. So let's run through all three.
Let's run through all three.
Okay, because we have something for every single one. Armed Forces Day salutes all who are serving currently
on active duty
in the Armed Forces.
Right.
And for that, we have free admission to the fort for all of our regular days from, I think, May 16 to the end of September. Veterans Day honors all who have served and who are still alive. Of course, you can still honor those who have passed away. Memorial Day specifically honors those who served and died in any conflict or any service to the nation. So they're all very good, all proper, but there is a bit of a difference between the three.
Right, and there's so many of them, so people get them all confused.
Well,
like for example, Fairmount has a memorial service at the cemetery on Veterans Day.
Well,
and they've done it for years.
And we should point out there are other Memorial Day events on this upcoming Monday, and we try to start ours right at 9 o'clock and finish pretty prompt at 9:40 so folks can go to the 10 o'clock one that's sponsored, I think, by Johnson's Funeral Home. So we try to get in and out and get it done quick and efficiently.
Something that's in the news that Fort Concho is tangentially attached to are the disposition of a lot of our elementary schools here in the San Angelo ISD.
That's correct.
And one of the things that I know And I want you to kind of explain to me exactly what's going on, what went on back this. But Fort Concho Elementary, I guess it was the old South School?
It was the South Ward School. In those days, they called them ward schools. The ISD was created around 1903, I believe, to standardize the schools.
But they built the elementary school
right smack in the parade ground.
Right in the parade ground
Right
of Fort
center.
Concho. So Fort Concho must have been just this afterthought back then. Like, when are those buildings going to finally fall down?
Well, that's probably true when you think about it. The fort closed in 1889. And the school was built in 1909, the original Fort Concho school. So that's 20 years. Go back 20 years in our history, and do you see anyone rallying to save anything from the military that's 20 years old? History has to be sometimes old before people pay attention to it. It was one of the four schools, Fort Concho on the south side. I think it was Lamar on the west side, where the bank is. It was San Jacinto on the east side on Spalding, and then Reagan on the north side. 14th and Volney, I believe, which I believe that campus is eventually going away because it's structurally not in great shape. And of course, we had a little earthquake here a while back, and that didn't do it any good. So they were good schools in the day, and it was forward thinking. And it served the whole community up until the 1920s when they started building other schools.
What convinced the San Angelo ISD to move the building that was in the middle of the fairgrounds behind the fort?
My predecessor probably gets credit for that, John Vaughn, who actually hired me many, many, many years ago. And there were other people, but he kind of shepherded this project through years of planning and fundraising and partnerships with the Meadows Foundation, the ISD, City Hall, private donors. And it was really so simple that it was brilliant that frontier forts don't really have schools in the middle of their parade ground.
No.
It blocked the view. It totally divorced the fort from its surroundings. You couldn't see one side from the other. And over time, the school was declining. Even in the 1980s, it wasn't in the best of shape.
So the school structure was there in the 1980s?
It was there from 1909 until 1987, I think was its last year. So John came up with this idea that we had some land on the southeast side of the fort, and he combined the rebuilding of a new school with the rebuilding of the post hospital, and then transitioned part of that post hospital to be used by the school as a library to get more, grant interest in it, and give the school kids a brand new facility. And by golly, it worked. And it's a fine school. It's been expanded in the last 2 or 3 decades to the south and to the east of the site, and is really a premier campus. And we got the parade ground back, and we have a very close relationship with the school and the principal and the kids, and we sort of adopted each other, and it's a good relationship.
And it's back there behind the historical part, so you don't have to...
It is. You can see it, and if you look at it, it was done in neutral colors in such a way that it would blend in.
Wow.
And I'm very pleased to say that the school principal, Lori Barton, just replaced the entire playground. She'd been working 4 years on the fundraising, and the old playground, which was put up in the early 90s with orange and red and green Barney colors. If you know your kids, you know Barney in the cartoon.
I love you.
Yes, well, I didn't love the colors. It was just, they were obnoxious. But she raised tens of thousands of dollars and put in a new playground of earth tones of green and brown, and it fits in very well.
All right, after Memorial Day, what do we have to look forward to at Fort Concho?
Let's talk about the Western Art Show.
Okay.
Opens Thursday, June 19th.
First, before you start telling me about when it's going to open, what is Western art?
Western art is the kind of art that all good San Angeloans ought to be proud of.
Like horses?
Horses and mules and buffalo and sheep and cowboys and Indians and soldiers and mountains and the Great Plains. It's all by the 7 artists who were picked as the best from last year's American Plains Artist Show. We had a vote, a public vote, and these were the top 7, and each of them are going to bring between 5 and 10 of their paintings. The art will be for show and for sale. So hint, hint, if you want some quality artwork for your living room at a reasonable price for, well-done art, this will be on display from June 19 to August 3.
All right,
free.
You said
not the art, just the show.
This is American Plains Western Art.
American Plains Artists Association.
Okay.
They are.
Why would the American Plains Artists Association go to San Angelo that's not really part of the American Plains, or was it?
We are on the south end of the plains.
Okay.
And they came to us 10, 11 years ago to do a show. They rotate their annual show. And actually, I can credit Howard Taylor, the former director of the San Angelo Museum of Fine Arts. They asked him, and he was booked, and he said, why don't you ask Bob at Fort Concho? He may have a building. And we just tried it once and liked it, and we've been doing it ever since.
Gotcha. And so for these art shows, do you have like an opening party?
Oh, yeah.
Big opening party with...
Well, I don't know how big it is, but it'll be Thursday, June 19, 5:30 to 7. Lots of snacks and soft drinks and water, and maybe a little entertainment.
All right. Well, this is Bob Bluthardt. He is the history buff of San Angelo, Texas.
They pay me to be historian.
Yes, pay him to be the sage of all San Angelo history. How's that?
Oh, that's a little overdone. I'm just a lucky guy that gets to play with the stuff, and it's a good gig, and we hope folks come out and see us.
And the man who runs Fort Concho. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Back to y'all.
Our very own Lucas Banda went out to Lake Nasworthy and spoke with the Game Warden on boating safety for the upcoming weekend. Let's take a look.
David Hopkins, DAVID-HOPKINS, State Game Warden.
Very cool. So, Memorial Day's around the corner. Y'all want people be safe on the water. Can you tell me just sort of all about it?
Sure. Holiday weekends are a busy time on the lake. We like to make sure that everybody's being safe out here. And so one of the things that we look for is that everybody's wearing a life jacket. That is by far one of the most important things that we enforce out here is life jacket safety. And so if you're under the age of 13 and you're required to wear the life jacket while on the boat, everybody else, it would be a good idea, but you at least have to have one on board accessible to you. A couple other things that we're looking for is boating while intoxicated. That is something that we patrol for pretty heavily on the weekend. It's the same thing as driving while intoxicated. A lot of people aren't aware, but that is a very serious offense and it can land you in jail. So if you've got to include alcohol in your weekend plans, we ask that you maybe incorporate a designated driver with it, or maybe just wait till you get off the water altogether. And finally, for those who are using jet skis, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. First of all, you have to wear a life jacket. Second of all, we ask that you're required to obey the 50-foot rule, which means that you stay away from anything in the water when you're above headway speed, which is basically an island. So if you're out playing around, you got to make sure that you stay 50 feet away from boats, obstacles in the water, or people in the water. And 50 foot, a lot of people don't realize what that is, but it's a little over 2 boat lengths. And so make sure you're doing that. And then you got to be off the water by sunset if you're on a jet ski. A lot of people aren't aware of that. And so those things will help keep people safe this weekend. And that's our main goal, is to make sure that everybody's out having an enjoyable, happy Memorial Day weekend. So we are Marine certified enforcement officers, and so as part of that job, we stop and make sure that people have the proper safety equipment on their boat. That's going to include life jackets for everybody on board. It's going to include a sound producing device, whether it's a whistle or a horn. It's going to include a fire extinguisher. It's going to include a Type 4 throwable, which usually looks like a square seat cushion with handles. Sometimes it's a ring buoy. And then finally, we're going to ask for your registration information to make sure that the boat's not stolen and that it actually belongs to who it's supposed to. I mean, honestly, probably the one that is the most frustrating is parents that don't have their kids in life jackets. Unfortunately, over the years, Lake Nasworthy has had its share of boat accidents and fatalities, and most of those were preventable. And so, you know, it kind of breaks your heart when you see something that could have been prevented altogether just by simply wearing a life jacket. So we ask that you wear a life jacket this weekend. Be safe, be careful, have a good time. Yes, so wake zones. There are buoys posted throughout Lake Nasworthy especially that are no wake zones. Coming into Spring Creek Marina, right at the bridge on Knickerbocker. In those areas, you must slow down and not have a wake behind your vessel. And so basically what we tell people is if there's a wave behind your boat or your vessel, you're going too fast. You need to slow down. And that's basically to prevent things like boats being washed up against the bridge pillars, or when you come into this area where boats are docked, keep them from banging into each other. So unfortunately, we do run across a lot of people that participate in bow riding, which basically means that you're sitting on the front of the boat, leaned over the boat, or have your feet in the water. There's also some people that do that off the rear of the boat. Incredibly dangerous. That's how a lot of people get run over by the boat. And so if we see you doing that, we are going to stop you and ask you to quit doing that, just because it is so incredibly dangerous. Common misconception, the driver of the boat actually can drink. There's no open container on the boat. Anybody on the boat that's of age can drink. The issue becomes, especially out in the heat in West Texas, that they don't realize how many they're having, and before you know it, they're intoxicated, and then they get arrested for boating while intoxicated.
Is there a proper procedure for when you see Game Warden to pull over for?
No, we just ask, usually we ask you to go ahead and kill your motor, and we'll pull up to you. We're going to ask you for a lot of equipment, and so it's kind of a hassle having to dig all that out, especially if you haven't done it in a while. Just try to be patient with us, and we'll get through as quick as possible and get you on your way. So there are several state body regulations as far as fish go. On Lake Nasworthy, there is some exemptions. One of those being that we no longer have a length limit on crappie, and so any length of crappie is fine. It's 10 inches everywhere else, but on Lake Nasworthy, any size is fine. We have white bass here, we have crappie, we've got perch, we've got catfish, we've got some freshwater drum. All of those are available for you to catch. We've got some hybrid bass, and those have to be 18 inches in length. And so a lot of people confuse those with white bass because they look pretty similar, but if you're keeping hybrid bass, make sure they're 18 inches.
No limit, they can catch as many as they want.
They can catch as many as they want. They can only keep a certain amount, and that varies by fish. And you can find that either in the Outdoor Annual app or online. Lake Nasworthy often gets very busy on holiday weekends, especially out in the main portion of the lake. A lot of people tubing and wakeboarding. Please just be careful. Stay away from other boats and other people on the different items like the jet skis or the tubes or the wakeboards, and have a safe, happy weekend.
In news, piggybacking off the video, Monday is Memorial Day, so plenty of city offices will be closed as well as some businesses. So be safe out there and be smart. If you're looking for things to do, the Concho River is just stocked with catfish, and Angelo State season is on the line tonight, so get out there and support the Rams. Also, Long Haven Memorial Garden is hosting a Memorial Day ceremony at the cemetery located at 4989 FM Highway 1223. Johnson's Memorial Garden says to join us in honoring and remembering those who gave their all for our freedom this Memorial Day. The ceremony will take place on Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m. For more information, call 325-944-5000. And we'll get into weather right after this word from Jay Chandler.
It's hard to believe how reckless some people can be and how hard they fight against real victims. You need a partner who consistently beats the giants and who will never, ever flinch.
In weather, it'll be hot over the weekend, but storms roll in next week. Right now, it's 94 degrees outside with a high of 99, and a low tonight at 73. Tomorrow, the high gets up to 101, and the low is down around 71. Sunday, it cools off slightly to 97. Then storms roll in Sunday night where the low is 70. Monday through Thursday, we have chances at storms and rain each day. And we'll be right back after this quick word from Conno's Diamonds and Coins.
When it comes to unique pieces you can't find anywhere else, Conno's Diamonds and Coins is your one-stop shop. With over 24 years in the diamond and coin industry, Conno's Diamonds and Coins is West Texas's choice for diamonds, jewelry, coins, silver, and gold. Owner Bill Conno stands by his work and offers free consultations, including estate jewelry. Don't just trust anyone with your valuables. Come see the staff at Conno's at 1016 West Beauregard in San Angelo.
Thank you for watching the Live Daily News Show, the only locally owned news show in the Concho Valley. Go like us on Facebook, X, and other social media platforms, and download the San Angelo Live mobile app. For the Live team, I'm James Bellini, and we'll see you next week.